The topic by itself is also something which is more to do with introspection, so I won't really be doing too much of talking. I think it'll be a shorter talk than usual. How many of us are familiar with the fish philosophy? The book, Fish. Okay, Rashid, I'm sure you've read. Any others who... Okay. Fish is the series of books. Now it's a series. It started with one book called Fish and then followed up with Fish Tales and Fish Sticks and several of those series. What the book primarily documented or attempted to document at that point was simply the work culture in the Pike Place fish market in Seattle. And that was the only purpose of the book, to try and document the work culture there. But then the way the book was received across the globe made the offerings far more wider, and then we found that we could apply it in pretty much all areas of life. And here, of course, when I told Evelyn that I'd like to speak on fish philosophy, she said, let's try and apply it to health and personal well-being. And I said, why not? I mean, usually if you look at the Fish series of books, it's written with the management component in mind, which means it's written from an organizational perspective. But today when we talk of it, let's also try and explore how can we apply the same concepts to personal management, our health, physical and mental health, as well as health in terms of our relationships and family. Okay. So as we go along, I'll take you through the story in the book, and as we go through the story, we can try and derive the lessons. There are four main components that the book talks about, the four main aspects of the fish philosophy, and then we'll see how we can apply it to health. Okay. The book starts with a story of Mary Jane and Dan, who move to Seattle from another part of the US. They move primarily because Dan gets a very good job offer, and Mary is quite confident that she'll get an equally good offer when she moves in. And they have two little children. They move in, and sure enough, Dan does well on his new job. Mary Jane also finds a good job at this place called First Guarantee Financial, a financial services company. She finds a job as a supervisor, quite happy with her role. Things are very smooth for about a year. I mean, they're enjoying the new place, the kids settle well in school, and things are smooth when suddenly they realize that Dan is down with an irrecoverable brain damage, and there's nothing much that can be done about it. And in a matter of few weeks from when the injury was detected, he passes away. And things change, obviously, because there are two little children to look after. They've moved to a place where they really don't have any family or any other kind of support around them. Of course, Mary Jane has her job, but that's about it. And after his death, they realize that Dan's insurance has not covered most of the things that the expenses called for, the hospital and the operation and the medicines that were called for this particular injury were not really covered, which means they fall under a huge debt. So Mary continues with her job. Of course, she does well in it, in the sense that she has had good experience in the financial services arena, and so she moves on. Of course, it's a struggle because there's no one to look after the kids. The kids are left in daycare, and she has to struggle with her job in order to pay off the loans first, and then her idea is that let me spend a few years just to wipe off the loan, and then I could possibly think of saving up, maybe moving to a better place and educating the kids. But the immediate idea is simply to make ends meet and not fall under the debt trap. So that's how the story goes on. And 3 years later, that's 3 years in Seattle, 2 years after Dan's death, Mary is doing very well at her job. And the company offers her a promotion, but there's a catch. The promotion is to this department, which is located on the 3rd floor of the First Guarantee, the employer's building. And that 3rd floor is notorious to be a place which is devoid of energy. I mean, people call it a toxic dumping ground of the organization. The reason being, the 3rd floor, the people who work there are primarily back office people, so they don't really interact with customers, external customers. Their customers are internal. They process a lot of data and documents and give it to internal customers who, on the other hand, deal with the external customers, go out and market their products and services and get in business. Now, this third floor is known to be a place which is devoid of energy, primarily because the people working there perceive that their job is boring. All they do is process data. And, of course, people dump in a lot of data in them because they are an information center. There's nothing much that can be done about the nature of work. So it's known to be this very low energy place where red tapeism and bureaucracy have grown over the years. No one enjoys interacting with the third floor people. And that's how the situation is. Mary, of course, is not very excited about the prospect of working at this place. I mean, being promoted as a boss for this third floor people, as they call it. But at the same time, she realizes she would require all the financial help that she can get from the salary raise that she would get as a result of the promotion. So she takes up the challenge. But in a few weeks of working there, she realizes things are just not working. People are extremely demotivated because they think their job doesn't matter at all. And at the same time, they have a lot of grudge for the other departments because they think all the other departments get the customer focus. They go out and sell products and they get all the glory, whereas these guys are slogging in the background. And of course, they have this whole perception about the fact that because the other people have a job which is more glorified, they possibly also have great personal lives. They enjoy, they have fun, they go out, attend conferences, they network with people. So it's definitely more fun, whereas we as the third floor people are down in the drudges. Now, there's nothing for us to look forward to in terms of career growth. But at the same time, it's a back office job, which means it's the sort of a job which we can retire into. So we don't have to think about alternatives, or we don't even have to think about upgrading ourselves. And that's the attitude. So that's the scenario at which Mary Jane is. And that's where Fish begins. One day, Mary Jane realizes that there's no point in going to the cafeteria for lunch because she always overhears people talking against her department, and that's definitely not motivating when you want to take a break. So she decides to go out for a walk. There's a waterfront nearby the office, and she says, let me go out and sit quietly near the water and have my lunch and come back. For some reason, instinctively, instead of going to the waterfront, she turns left and gets into the fish market. The Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle, which I'm sure a lot of us must have heard of it in other contexts as well. It's one of the largest fish markets in the world. And if you think of fish market as a place to work, what is it that comes to mind? How do we imagine a fish market? Noise, lots of it. The smell. Okay.
Chaos.
Utter chaos, yes. Okay. Dirty. It's very slimy because of all the fish and the water that drips in. And definitely there's that stench which can get quite unbearable if you have to be there for a long time. And imagine there are people working there the whole day. Okay. And this is one of the largest fish markets in the world, which means there is a lot more stench and a lot more noise than we can imagine. And for some reason, she walks into the fish market. She's simply attracted by the fact that there's so much of noise and energy on a sultry afternoon there. So she walks in, and she walks into this group which refers to itself as the yogurt dudes. Everyone is standing with a cup of yogurt, and there are these people working in the fish market standing on tables enjoying their lunch break while they're playing with fish. Throwing around fish, somebody else catching it there, people missing it, laughing about it. And that's the whole atmosphere. They're very convivial, very vibrant. And she wonders, how is it that people working in a fish market, standing that stench, really being in a very unhealthy environment as far as health is concerned, how is it that they're so happy about it? How is it that they generate so much of energy to actually think about playing at the workplace at lunch instead of a person like me who wants to get away from the workplace as much as I can? And she's watching there, standing, and she realizes there are a few other people from the neighboring offices who've also come in there, walked in, and it's apparently a culture that everyone comes in with a bowl of yogurt and enjoys the scene while people play catch-catch with fish and simply have fun. And she realized a lot of these people, the neighboring office people, volunteered to play